Lovely, thank you. All right, good morning, everybody. JT Cestkowski for Status Coup. I am here outside of the federal courthouse in downtown Chicago, where in just a few minutes, the Border Patrol Commander, Greg Bevino, who is in charge of the entirety of Operation Midway Blitz here in the Chicagoland area. That's the operation that is currently underway by this federal government using your taxpayer dollars to forcibly separate people from their families and their communities and deport thousands of people for no crime other than being in this country. He has to speak to Judge Sarah Ellis in this courtroom and answer some pretty serious questions about some clear violations that he has made to the judge's order, which restricts the use of tear gas and other kinds of force in communities here in the Chicagoland area. Since this judge issued a ruling putting a temporary hold on when and how members of the federal government can deploy tear gas here in the Chicagoland area, if anything, we've only seen the use of tear gas increase in that time. Originally, Greg Bevino was supposed to be here for a hearing on November 5th. That has now been moved up to today because the judge felt that it could not wait to get answers to some of her burning questions about why the federal government is doing this and how in any way is it not a violation of her orders. If she finds that it is a violation, then there are several avenues that she could pursue, not least of all being holding parts of the federal government, maybe Greg Bevino himself specifically, or other members of the Trump administration in contempt of court, with then the possibility for even more stringent requirements placed on the federal government. The plaintiffs in this case, the lawyers who brought this lawsuit against the federal government for their use of force, are right now asking the federal government, or excuse me, asking the federal judge to just put a blanket ban on the use of tear gas here in Chicago. Now, this is not just a Chicago issue, because as we have seen, Chicago has proven to be a bit of a testing ground for the Trump administration. Tactics that were first used here in some of their operations are now being exported across the country to other cities. So that is what we are looking for out of this, is how are our federal courts going to respond to some of these authoritarian tactics by the Trump administration? And are they going to meaningfully hamper the Trump administration in any way? Or is it going to be free reign for this authoritarian administration to continue a reign of terror, not just here in Chicago, but then across the country? And as evidence for how this is going to be perpetrated across the country, I want to direct your attention to some recent news reports that we have seen in the last couple of days. Many outlets now are reporting that the federal government, that the Trump administration has relieved ICE commanders of their duties in many cities across the country with the intention of replacing them with Border Patrol commanders, similar to how Greg Bevino, who is a Border Patrol commander, is in charge here in Chicago of the ICE operations here. Why is that relevant? Well, Border Patrol has much more of a, let's call it a cowboy attitude for how they approach things. Much more liberal, I guess, in the use of force. Liberal in the sense of much more willing to use it and using it kind of at the drop of a hat, not afraid of those tactics immediately escalating situations where there are protesters, immediately deploying force whenever there is even a modicum of opposition to what the administration is doing here in the Chicago area. So that is the beginning of that playbook of replicating what is happening here in Chicago in cities across the country. I'm going to bring up some of that reporting right now. John, while I do that, if you just kind of want to show the scene out here, this is what it looks like outside of the courthouse. We have just a whole bunch of media right now out here. Greg Bevino walked in just a short time ago before we went live, did appear in this court. Or is appearing in this court. There was some question of if he was going to appear because the Department of Homeland Security was not answering some requests from the press inquiring if he would actually bother to show up and answer the judge's questions. But he is reportedly here in this building, and he'll be in a courtroom in one of the upper floors of this courthouse. And then here you see some of the protesters who have also gathered outside the courthouse now. This group has been growing somewhat over the last several minutes since we have been here, but still a modest group of protesters. I've only seen one demonstrator who is in favor of ICE, but you see signs out here that say ICE out. U.S. imperialism is the crisis. Smash the mass deportation machine. I heart due process.
Yes, hey, I got you guys. It's fine, you're back. Good.
More protesters here along the street. Trump is a pedo. Abolish ICE. Hands off Chicago. And then more of these pretty staple signs that we've seen out here in demonstration after demonstration. Chicago has really turned out for protests like that. We have been at protests with thousands of people, excuse me. The No Kings protests out here reportedly had as many as 300,000 people in attendance as a way to push back on the Trump regime's very authoritarian tactics out here in the Chicagoland area. So returning now to that reporting that I was, I've got it up. Returning now to that reporting that I was referencing about the Trump administration dismissing some ICE commanders. This is what Fox News is reporting right now, but this has been confirmed by many outlets. So this is per 4 senior DHS, Department of Homeland Security, and Trump administration sources. A mass removal of ICE leadership around the country, across this country, is underway, with up to 12 ICE field office chiefs being removed and reassigned in an effort to increase deportation numbers. So let that sink in for a moment. What the federal government is essentially saying, what the Trump administration is in effect saying, is that all of those scenes that you have seen on social media, the videos of car windows being smashed, people pulled out, maybe you've seen some of our reporting on tear gas being deployed in these neighborhoods, just day laborers, food cart vendors, people without criminal records other than being in this country illegally, and in some cases, folks who are just legal citizens being caught up in some of these raids. That scene, all of those scenes, that's not enough for the Trump administration. They say ICE commanders are not doing the job hard enough, and now they're going to bring in people who they think are even more hard-lined on this immigration issue and more willing to use force, more willing to escalate in terms of tactics and tensions here in this country. So 12 ICE field office chiefs being removed and reassigned in an effort to increase deportation numbers. Fox News being told the move is spearheaded by Corey Lewandowski, and a handful of the ICE chiefs will likely be replaced by Border Patrol and CBP officials, some of whom will be handpicked by aggressive and controversial Border Patrol Commander Greg Bevino, the same man who is now appearing in this courthouse today to answer tough questions from a federal judge about why you are tear gassing whole communities, including children here in Chicago, in blatant violation of a federal court order. That man now being given the keys to the Trump administration's entire deportation agenda here, and being allowed to handpick field office commanders to bring these Chicago tactics to cities across the country. The Fox News also told that ICE leadership removed from their positions include ICE field office directors in Los Angeles, Phoenix, Philadelphia, Denver, El Paso, San Diego, Seattle, Portland, and New Orleans. So some of the country's biggest cities, in addition to Chicago, now will also be likely facing a lot of the same tactics that we have been reporting for you on the ground here for the better part of a month. We took only a couple of days off, but otherwise we have been living here on the ground in Chicago, reporting out here when most national outlets are gone. In fact, when every national outlet is gone. There are so many times where John and I will look around and realize we are the only camera there bothering to cover any of this. There's been a couple of local cameras, couple of local reporters here and there, but that's really it. Otherwise, this corporate press right now is content to report on what is happening in this city from offices in New York, just looking at a couple of things that are happening on social media, not bothering to see for themselves the actual suffering that is here happening on the ground, hear from the people who are involved, hear from these protesters who we'll be hearing from in just a moment, hearing their grievances about what they want to see for their city, but what they want to see for the future of their country. So, Border Patrol under the Trump administration's second term here, well, this is returning to that Fox News reporting, while sometimes doing their own targeted operations has been extremely aggressive and has been at the forefront of some of the most controversial immigration enforcement operations we've seen so far, carrying out roving patrols in Los Angeles, Chicago, often at Home Depot, car washes, flea markets. We saw one. We came across what was left over after one just out in a suburban Chicago neighborhood's supermarket where a window on a vehicle had been smashed and 3 people had been pulled out of that car, detained. 2 of them disappeared into the immigration system, abducted by masked federal agents, one of whom was wearing, their mask was emblazoned with the American flag, which, what does that tell you about the state of this country right now, that is how the symbology of this country is being weaponized to make people fearful in this moment. A majority of the viral videos you see online, this is according to Fox News' reporting, a majority of the viral videos you see online are Border Patrol agents, including the use of Trojan horse-style Penske moving trucks that we've seen in places across the country, in Los Angeles, but also here in Chicago, where we've talked to people who have been fearful whenever they see a U-Haul truck drive down the street, because they know that those moving trucks are sometimes used by the Department of Homeland Security as a way to covertly go into these neighborhoods and jump out and surprise people on the street and, without producing a warrant, arrest them, handcuff them, demand to see proof of citizenship. And if you can't offer that proof in that moment, well, then you're detained in many cases, then arrested, taken to one of the ICE processing facilities, like the one that we have been reporting on extensively out in Broadview, Illinois, which is about a half hour from where we are standing right now. So with that, that gets you caught up on some of the news out of today. I will also note that right before he went into court, Commander Greg Bevino, he's been posting pictures of some of the people that they arrest online. He did so again this morning, just a few minutes before appearing here at court. And he posted a picture of a man and just made broad claims that this man was part of a gang without really offering any verifiable details, like the man's name, really only giving the date of the arrest as the only sort of corroborating fact. But even then, you can't really corroborate it as a reporter because they are roving around and in so many different places, not announcing their operations, not providing any information to the general public in any real meaningful sense about what is happening here on the ground. You just have to take Greg Bevino's word for it. And that is something that the federal judges here have really taken an exception to, because they have found that the Trump administration, in some of these cases that are pending about what is happening here in the Chicagoland area, the judges are taking real exception to, because they are finding that the federal government is, in many cases, just outright lying, bullshitting about what is happening here on the ground in Chicago, saying one thing because it suits their political narrative in that moment, and then when facts come out to the contrary, brush it off, move on to the next thing, and just keep spewing so much bullshit that it really becomes indistinguishable what's fact, what's not in the moment. And that's why what we do here is so important, being able to show you that on-the-ground perspective where other media is not. So if you please can go to StatusCoup.com/join. For $5 a month, 16 cents a day, you go to keep us here on the ground, which is not cheap, by the way. I mean, it costs hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Just John and I, it costs actually $1,000 about a week just to keep us here in hotels. And then you've got transportation on top of that. We need to eat. It is expensive stuff. It's part of the reason why corporate media won't do it. So if you can, please go to support us. It is very meaningful. I'm going to try and go over and talk to some of these protesters now, and we'll start to hear their perspectives about why they wanted to be out here on a chilly Tuesday morning here in Chicago. about why you wanted to be out here today and
Oh,
the message
sure.
you're hoping to deliver?
Sure.
Yeah. Can you start just by, this is my cameraman, John, by the way.
I have two good sides. Okay.
Lovely. Let's start with your name, sir.
Okay. Joe Ruley.
Joe Ruley. And Joe, can you spell that for us real quick?
J-O-E. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, that's what I asked, and, ask stupid questions.
R-U-L-L-I.
Joe, if you could just hold up your sign, so that way we can kind of get the message that you're...
Inside.
Yeah, so it says, disobey the felon on one side, and on the other side, make America Antifa again. Can you explain the message that you came out to deliver and why you wanted to be out here today?
Well, I think this is, I don't know how many rallies for me and how many, I'm on a neighborhood watch where I live in Rogers Park, and yeah, it's always the same. It's protecting rights. It's giving everybody a chance, including those who the government deems as illegal, which I don't recognize that term. I always quote Pope John Paul II, who said way, way back, there's nobody who is illegal because the world belongs to everybody. And it's just random government terminology and subjective rules that make people illegal.
And Joe, for clarity's sake, when you say that you are you're a member of a neighborhood watch, Joe's not talking, at least I assume, is not talking about like a neighborhood watch like for crime in the neighborhood. I guess in a form.
Yes,
Joe is saying, Joe is on the lookout for federal agents coming into your community, and you have to band together with your neighbors to try and keep each other safe in this moment.
In one block, there are two elementary schools. A few weeks ago, two men were abducted near a tamale stand, and that was within a block of those schools. And so that's when I started getting more active in that. Yeah, early morning and dismissal times, primarily.
And that is not an atypical response. Like, we have heard and seen that ICE agents are operating near schools, federal agents operating near schools as a tactic.
Churches on Sundays.
Yeah, churches on Sundays, really where you would expect people to just naturally feel the most safe, near your neighborhood school. Yeah. Church on Sunday, and yet that is where people are being victimized right now by this administration, disappeared.
And the artificial excuses of criminal behavior and just making stuff up to increase fear in people who normally support sort of this law and order stance. And I have nothing against law and order. We have laws for that very reason. And what we have now is illegal behavior, unconstitutional behavior. They're words. They're not even hiding it. That's part of the issue, too, is that they're not even hiding what they're doing. We have, felons from the White House on down who are just trouncing on any kind of established rules of conduct.
I don't know how closely you've been following the news in just like about the last 24 hours, but there's now a number of media outlets that are reporting that ICE agent field directors are being dismissed by the Trump administration so that they can be replaced by Border Patrol commanders. And a lot of those Border Patrol commanders supposedly are going to be handpicked by Greg Bevino, who is leading the operations here in the Chicagoland area. As we watch and wait to see, it seems like likely the Trump administration is really kind of using Chicago as a proving ground for tactics it's now going to roll out across the country. Yes, okay, so that's been the reporting here in just the last 24 hours. I want you to just kind of give folks a sense for what's it like to live in Chicago right now, since this very same tactics might be coming to their cities soon.
Yeah, well, I think I feel very safe before they ever arrived. I do tours, and sometimes they go till 10 o'clock at night, and I feel very safe here. It's been a safe city. We're getting a handle on everything that the city is being accused of as far as criminal behavior. That has been well in hand. No city is perfect, but it does not warrant the Gestapo tactics. It doesn't warrant the fear-mongering, and it doesn't warrant unconstitutional behavior by government officials. So none of anything we've seen in Chicago, living day in and day out here, warrants any of what's happened in the last several months.
I want to bring things to a little bit of broader themes here because, certainly what is happening here in Chicago on a day-to-day level, and a lot of times, we've been here on the ground for about a month reporting here, and we're taking it one day at a time. I imagine you are too. But looking forward into the future, and I want to think years into the future. Yeah, hard to do right now. The Donald Trump has been signaling now that he's open to a third term, seems to be indicating that he is going to try and seek a third term. How are you preparing yourself mentally for that eventuality?
Well, I'm taking it very seriously. Everything he's ever said, he's done. Way back in the 90s and early 2000s when he said if he ever ran for president, he would run as a Republican because Republicans are stupid enough to elect him. I'm paraphrasing slightly, but and from that point on, he's always said and done what he said. So yeah, I believe him. I'm taking him seriously, dreading it. I don't think physically can make it. Miracle ear or not, he is a human being with a time limit. So
that
is not a threat. Oh my God!
No, I think we're talking in the context of his health. That certainly wasn't lost on me, and I would really be disappointed if it was lost on the audience. But the president's deputy chief of staff, Stephen Miller, has said recently that ICE agents really have full immunity to carry out their operations. It sounds like that's what you're experiencing in your neighborhoods, and what I'm hearing from a lot of Chicagoans who I talk to right now, where they are directly victimized by ICE, is I ask, are you going to sue? Are you going to do this? Are you going to do that? And a lot of them kind of give me shrug shoulders, like I don't know what I can do. Yeah. Does it feel like you are that these masked agents are really operating beyond the bounds of the law? Is there anything that really feel like in your power as an individual that you can do to hold them to account?
Yeah, no, I think I went to a community meeting on Saturday and it was really great. It was in the Uptown neighborhood, but encompassed lots of organizations throughout the city. And one of the things they're doing is just getting as much information as possible on individual actions and individual agents so that at some point there will be accountability. The reckoning will come. I keep telling people, just archive everything. Nuremberg 2 will happen at some point. I really believe that we're going to come through this. We're going to come through this stronger. We're going to come through this hopefully with some huge changes, not just in constitutional practice, but also in education, so that we won't have a population, a huge percentage of which don't know the principles of constitutional government.
With you making that comparison, that Nuremberg 2, which of course is when a lot of the Nazis and Nazi collaborators from Nazi Germany were put on trial. Ministers of state were put on trial for their crimes. If you're expecting that moment here in the United States, it seems like you're remaining confident that we're going to get a chance to elect new leaders here in the future. Yeah. Donald Trump has been installing 2020 election deniers in places of authority with regards to election security here in the United States. Granted, our elections are carried out locally, but do you remain confident or hopeful that you're going to get another kick at the can here in 2026, 2028 to be able to elect new leaders?
Well, I don't know about those specific years because he said a lot of stuff. Like I said, he has always, one of the few things he does do is follow through on what he threatens. And so I may not be as confident in 2026, but eventually I do think we'll rebound and get back to whatever we have lost, really since 2016. And even before that, I think the two-party system, the two capitalist parties has really betrayed the country, and we're reaping this now. This is a reckoning of the failure of the two-party system that's been around since 1856, when it became pretty much, with a couple of exceptions, Democrats and Republicans. And they have done everything in their power to keep power. And I think this will shake enough people up that we'll start doing something differently, because what we have done is not working. It's evident that it's cracking pretty seriously. But I think whatever happens in 26 and 28, if it's really bad, we'll get through it. It'll just take a longer time. I would love, ideally, 26 happens and just as Mike Johnson said, he'll lose power and only serve, pretty practically speaking, 2 years of his term. But that not happening, we'll see. But it's a long haul. I don't look to 26 as like, oh, this is our hope. We can do. It's going to be, even if that were to happen, we still have a long road to repair what's been done since 2016.
You brought in a criticism of the Democratic Party there implicit in that answer that you just gave. I want to turn to Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker. His leadership here in Illinois, has it been enough for you?
Well, it's surprised me at his strength. I really am proud of him. I think he's stepped up. I think everything that happened from the pandemic on, overall, I think he's stepped up to meet the challenges. Still a ways to go. I still think he needs to come down in support of the people over even the state police. I think that's critical.
Yeah, you referencing the state police was kind of the issue that I was pointing to there, where we've seen them doing a lot of crowd control for ICE out at the Broadview ICE detention facility. I don't know if you've been able to make it out there for any of those demonstrations, but certainly it sounds like you've seen the scenes out there. You seem to be like that's like the one area that you want to see improvement from the governor on. What would a better solution out there at the Broadview ICE detention facility look like to you? Is it just about just pull the troops back or pull the troopers back?
It's about protecting the protesters, and I don't see how federal agents, fully armed as they are, need protection. I don't see how the protesters have whistles and posters. Very few acts of weapons, physical violence against the federal agents who are, much more heavily armed. That it's really silly for me difficult for me to see how there's any kind of parity in force. So I think the state police, county officials need to protect the protesters.
From some of your other answers, I think I know how you're going to respond to this one, but I've been asking folks, is America not sliding into fascism? Is it already a fascist state?
I don't think there's any much more sliding to do. It is, and when you have, it's the government officials who are criticizing any kind of connection with Antifa, which and I never heard that term before 2020. And it was the felon in the White House who used it. For me, that first heard it, he used it. And it's like, why wouldn't you say you're anti-fascist unless you're a fascist? It's an odd thing. So I think we're there. I think when you have groups being criticized and being threatened for their political positions against authoritarianism, it's not a big step to full-blown authoritarian, fascist-based government.
So then we're here because Greg Bevino is appearing before a federal judge inside this building right now. Who's his historical fascist allegory in this moment? Are you prepared to make a comparison?
Well, yes, I've already called him Reichsfuhrer, which was Heinrich Himmler's position in the Nazi regime. There really isn't an Italian equivalent aside from Mussolini, because he didn't have the structure as much as the Germans did. But he was responsible for the political assassinations after he took office. That started in 1924. He took over in late 22, and by June of 24, he had his first political assassination that he took responsibility for, of Giacomo Matteotti. And then it followed 2 years later after a questionable assassination attempt, like someone else we know, he started arresting socialists and communists by late 1926.
Joe, is there anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. I could go on and on. No.
Yeah, you've been wonderful. Thank you very much, Joe, for your time. I appreciate it. I'm going to step over here to the side just because, actually, if you want to put the camera on me, John, we've got our first few questions coming from the judge now being put to Commander Greg Bevino. If you're just joining us, we are outside of the federal court building in Chicago, where Commander Greg Bevino, who is a Border Patrol commander and is in charge of Operation Midway Blitz here in the Chicago area, has to answer for some use of force that he himself, like there's photos of him and video of him lobbing tear gas into a crowd in the Little Village neighborhood here in Chicago, seemingly in direct violation of a judge's court order. That judge has now hauled Greg Bevino in here to face questioning. We're starting to get from some of the local court reporters inside, we're starting to get some of the first interactions that have been happening between the judge and Bevino. So this is going to be coming from a combination of both the Chicago Tribune and the Chicago Sun-Times. The judge to Bevino, quote, "My role is not to tell you that you can or cannot enforce validly passed laws by Congress. That's not my role. My role is simply to see that any enforcement of those laws is done in a manner that is consistent with your obligations under the law." The judge laying out very clearly her expectations of Bevino, because we're not exactly sure how contentious this hearing is going to be in this moment. So the judge laying out there exactly what she expects, what she sees her role as here, and the standard that she is going to hold Bevino to. Because that is ultimately how we get any kind of responsibility, hold people to account, is by having that standard. Now, whether the judge is going to step up and actually enforce her order by imposing any kind of sanctions on the federal government or holding them in contempt of court, that's what we're here to see today. So, the Judge Ellis says the only explanation for what she's been seeing, referencing like the many photos and videos that have been submitted to this court as evidence, and also what's been appearing on social media, how Border Patrol agents, ICE agents, and other federal agents in this city have been conducting themselves, tear gassing children, throwing people to the ground, shooting rubber bullets, pepper balls at largely peaceful protesters. That's what she's referencing. What she's been seeing is that her temporary restraining order is simply not clear, telling Bevino there's no way he would just ignore it, is there? Quote, "So I thought it would be a really good idea to go through it so that we are on the same page," unquote, she says, which at least to my mind is a pretty limp response to just act like, oh, I must not have made myself clear. That is what you're expecting. This is a federal government that has so many lawyers and limitless resources at its disposal. And your first read of the situation out here is that, oh, I must not have been clear, that clearly you must be a good faith actor. You in the Border Patrol, Greg Bevino, you who we have seen lobbing tear gas canisters into crowds with no or little warning, certainly not in keeping with the judge's order as to all of the stringent requirements that Border Patrol must meet before it can deploy some of these uses of forces. The way the judge is starting here is already very credulous and treating Greg Bevino as a good faith actor, which I don't think the Trump administration in any capacity has shown itself to be. We were just talking about exactly how fascist this government is in an interview just a few moments ago, and now we're turning around and the judge is acting as if she has just not clearly explained to a child that they can't put their hand in the cookie jar. Except instead of a cookie jar, it's fucking tear gassing people. I continue here. From the Chicago Tribune, Ellis is literally reading her temporary restraining order to Bevino, who is staring back at the judge and nodding. So that's what we've got so far, is just like a kindergarten classroom. A judge is reading an order out to a federal agent who presumably is capable of reading. I don't know that. I have not interviewed Greg Bevino to confirm that. Part one of the temporary restraining order says essentially that, quote, "You got to leave journalists alone. If they are doing their job, they have to be left alone," unquote. But of course, we have seen that journalists here in the Chicagoland area, a lot of this lawsuit is predicated on some of the actions that have been directed towards journalists. Our own John Farina has been tear gassed. He's been tear gassed a number of times. I've been tear gassed while I've been out here. Journalists have been shot at with pepper balls. One for a local TV station was thrown to the ground and arrested just for filming agents as they were conducting arrests here. Part two of the order that Bevino and his agents is that agents cannot use tear gas or other munitions on residents who are not a danger. Quote, so kids dressed in Halloween costumes walking to a parade do not elicit an immediate threat to the safety of a law enforcement officer. They just don't, quote unquote. That is a direct reference to a raid that we saw here in a Chicago neighborhood where kids were out on a Halloween parade and it was disrupted. The neighborhood was tear gassed as DHS agents were attempting to arrest people in an immigration raid in that community. Again, one of multiple neighborhoods that have been tear gassed, children who have been tear gassed as part of the way that this agency is conducting itself here in the Chicagoland area. And the judge has to actually spell out and say, like, oh, we can't tear gas people, or we can't tear gas children in Halloween costumes, Greg Bevino. I know they must look scary when they're dressed as skeletons or witches, but those aren't real, okay? So please don't do that anymore, or you'll make me sad. Ellis says, quote, this is the judge, quote, I also know I'm not there. I'm not out in the street. I'm here, but I am getting videos. It is difficult for me to see that the force being used is necessary to stop an immediate and serious threat of physical harm to a person, quote unquote. So again, there, the judge, again, just giving so much deference to the federal government here, being like, I'm sure there must be good reasons that you're tear gassing children. Please don't do it, but I get that I'm not there and I don't know exactly how the kids in their Halloween costumes are threatening you. But again, yeah, don't do it. The judge, quote, there was a woman in Little Village who was pulled to the ground and arrested, that she had someone sitting on top of her with his knee in her back. And the video did not appear to show that she was posing an immediate threat, quote unquote. So the judge is referencing all of this evidence that has been shown to all of us clear as day, how her order barring DHS agents, Department of Homeland Security agents, from using certain kinds of force, most namely tear gas, in so many incidences and just so frequently here in the Chicago neighborhood, trying to put any sort of limit on that in this moment. And we're seeing here that the judge is seeing that evidence, but coming away with the takeaway that apparently that she just isn't being clear enough. We're expecting her to put questions to Greg Bevino. So far, all she's doing is just reciting a court order to him that his agency has received, that his agency has said that we take these very seriously. But apparently the judge is at least acting like her order might not have even been worth reading and needs to read back to the agent. Ellis has now gotten into the requirement that agents give 2 warnings ahead of tear gas. Quote, this has been a consistent theme through all of the plaintiffs' filings, that being the lawyers who have brought this lawsuit against the federal government, is that there was no warning given. The order is already clear. The federal agents have to give at least 2 warnings before they use tear gas. And yet warnings are not being given. The judge is treating that as essentially a fact here in this case, that the federal government has been violating her order. And yet what we're not getting is any sort of real holding to account of Greg Bevino. We are expecting, if I am going to be generous to the judge here, would be the most generous read would be that this hearing is expected to last several hours. And likely will get into the questioning of Greg Bevino. It could be that over that time we see that the judge is starting from a I'm going to treat you as a good actor standpoint, so that way you have no excuse when I do eventually start questioning you, or if you conduct yourself in a way that is not as generous as I am treating you, if you are not treating protesters as generously, or if you become hostile to my later questioning. That's a possibility, but at least what I am hearing so far does not leave me with a whole lot of confidence. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna continue to try and talk to some of the demonstrators out here.
I also do tours on the sites related to the Haymarket Mall. Yeah, and I have 3 labor history books. Oh my God! Yeah. Yeah, and then I write satire books. Not laugh backwards. Take care.
I think that guy won.
Yeah, no, first.
So this is my cameraman, John. I'm JT. I know you know us because you came up and were talking to us. But can you start by giving us your name?
Yes, it would be Quinwall.
Quinn, can you spell that for us?
Yeah, it'd be Quinn, last name Wahl.
HL, got it. Okay, so first, let's just go over your sign real quick. It says America's Nuremberg trial. Is that what you are expecting to get here today of Greg Bevino?
Yes, that's pretty much what I expect. I expect there to be no real outcome today because the system's going to be patient with them, going to tell them slap on their wrist 3 or 4 times. And then eventually I think that it'll lead to this. It'll lead to another Nuremberg trial where a lot of the ICE higher-ups will be there, a lot of government officials that have allowed this, a lot of police, a lot of state patrol, and so on.
So you're the I've talked to now just 2 protesters, you being the second. Mm-hmm. Both have brought up this idea of like Nuremberg trials. Are we there? Are we in a fascist dictatorship already where it's going to need that kind of response to really, cleanse the future of this country and be sure that there are no more vestiges of fascism holding on when we come out the other side of this, whenever that might be?
Absolutely. I think that we're in a fascist state right now. I think that this is, one of Trump's 2016 cabinet members called it Stalin's secret police, which I think is a lot more accurate than saying Gestapo or Hitler, just because of the way that this country's been run. Trump is a lot more paranoid. He's going to make those moves out of paranoia that Hitler was brave enough not to make. It's a lot more like Stalin's regime, I feel like. And then I feel like we're going to get to that point where America or the next president, if we have one in 2028, will say we need to arrest these ICE agents. The Bovino's going to be arrested then. A lot of these state patrol that are out there committing these crimes up in Broadview. I see you out there a lot. A lot of the people that are part of this will be arrested and it'll be Nuremberg 2.0, I feel like, in 2025.
So
hopefully.
So the you say that you want second Nuremberg trials. You expected slaps on the wrist here today in a long trial. Just kind of get you up to speed, because I don't know if you've been following what's been happening inside the courtroom.
I've done.
So far, we're early on here yet, but what the judge has been doing so far is just telling Greg Bevino that she doesn't think her order was clear to him, and has so far just been reading the order back to him in its entirety as a child, like he's a child. Will that be enough for you, or what more do you need to see from this judge to feel satisfied about that this administration is being held to account?
No, I feel like she for sure should today further the restrictions, say that he's not listening. He's an adult man, he can read, hopefully. You'd think, but you never know. I feel like she needs to further the restrictions so that you aren't listening. This needs to happen. We will place further restrictions against you to say that you can be in Chicago, can do your job out here if it's going to be in a fascist way, if you're going to attack people that are just following the Constitution. I feel like that's what 99% of protesters have done, is follow the Constitution. I haven't seen anything against the Constitution in Chicago, and I'm up in Broadview 4 or 5 days a week, where it's at its worst.
Why is that? Excuse me. Why is that important for you to be both here today? It's cold out here. I see you're shivering a little bit. You're being uncomfortable to be here. You're out at Broadview multiple times per week, you just said. Why is it important for you to be here in these places in this moment, delivering this message?
Yes, I'm standing up for the person that can't stand up for themselves. As the poem goes, they came for the Jews first, and then by the point that they got to me, there was no one to protect me. I feel like eventually, as a gay man, they'll come for LGBTQ rights. They'll start coming for the gay community. They'll start coming for the trans community first before that, but eventually they're going to say only white, straight, cisgender men are allowed in America, and everyone else will be in camps if we keep going with this, and if I don't stand up now, along with just human decency, being out there supporting America. I served the National Guard for 5.5 years. I stood up for democracy then, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon.
You served in the National Guard. The Trump administration wants so badly to put National Guard troops here on the ground in the Chicagoland area. From your experience in the training in the Guard, would that be a good use of their training and time? Do they have anything productive to add here to Chicago? Or what harms could they do once they are here?
No, I don't think that there's any good that they could do, which is why I got out. I was living in Minnesota in 2020. I got out right after that medically. Got out officially in 2021. I don't think that there's any good that the National Guard can do here. They aren't trained to deal with this. They aren't trained to deal with just peaceful protesters. If they want to go deep south, Chicago, stop the crime rates there, I think that would be a useful use of their time. But they won't, because they don't want to actually get into a fight. They don't want to actually stand up for Chicago's issues. They want to attack the peaceful protesters that are against Trump's regime, against ICE. They want to put fear into the Chicago citizens instead of actually doing their job and actually making America better.
What would actually making America better look like? What are the investments that, I mean, maybe even just here in Chicago, if you want to start there, like what are the investments that you see that your community needs, that this federal government, instead of spending, billions of dollars on ICE agents to terrorize folks around here, what are ways that you could actually lift up the people of the Chicagoland area and of the country?
Yes, I think any gentrification, that's a classic way of kind of modern day slavery, is gentrification, saying that these people make our city look ugly. We need to push them out further and further and further. They're gentrifying Garfield Park right now heavily. I used to live there when I first moved to Chicago years ago. And I think that ending that, instead giving them a chance to improve as people, instead of saying that you aren't good enough for Chicago, pushing them out. We need to end Trump's regime, of course. We need J.B. Pritzker to start standing up for the American people and stop protecting ICE with his state patrol, Cook County sheriffs out in Broadview. I mean, they're actively against the first Constitution with what they're doing in Broadview. J.B. Pritzker is empowering that, taking the Constitution away from us, so he needs to fix this. He needs to fix his shit.
What would good leadership from Governor Pritzker look like to you?
I would say empowering the American people, putting in place restrictions against ICE, putting in place protection for the American people, not for his state police, not for ICE, and kind of helping the economy boom, furthering his economy, which is doing decently, considering everything, but it could always be better. And sorry about that. Could furthering the economy, furthering kind of how we as American people are living our day to day. I think that it starts with empowering our African American, Latino populations, and going from there. And then, I mean, us as white folks are doing just fine here in America. And then, mostly just focusing on the economy, less on empowering ICE.
So, you've referenced that you feel like we're already in a Nazi dictatorship or something similar to it here in the United States. Donald Trump, to that end, is talking about trying to serve a third unconstitutional term. How are you preparing yourself? How likely do you see that in this country, given everything that you're seeing on the ground here in Chicago?
I think it's extremely likely that he won't run for a third term. He'll declare martial law eventually and go that way, because there is the rule under martial law that if your term runs up under martial law, you can further your presidency. You can go on from there and stay in office. So I think that that's the more likely circumstance, is that he does that, and then does that for however long, just doesn't take martial law out, not allowing us to have another election. So I just think that that is extremely likely. But I think it'll be J.D. Vance because with how much Trump is struggling health-wise, he won't last these 4 years. Or if somebody takes him out, which I think would happen otherwise.
So I've heard from so many people, like, they see it as likely that Trump wants to serve a third term, but they keep coming back to that, I don't know if it's like, I guess, hope that, like, his health makes it so that he cannot. I mean, how much of that is hope a strategy, or I mean, what does active, in what ways are you trying to organize with other people right now? You talked about being out at Broadview. Like, how are you trying to connect with other people to try and build any sort of, like, people power here in the Chicagoland area and beyond?
Yes, I'm advocating. For work, I do advocacy for sexual assault. So going through that, empowering people to kind of get better mentally, spread that awareness that our country has that major issue. On top of being out here, bringing people out here with me, I started bringing my friend Jaffe out to Broadview, borderline every time that I go, every other time or so. She's out there probably 2-3 days a week, and plans on being out there as much as she can be. And then it's just furthering the empowerments of people to use their voice, so that this is wrong, and then just education, sharing on Instagram what is happening, kind of shoving it down people's throats in a way, saying, like, this happened today, how do you feel about that? And then just having conversations at grocery stores, at Target, or wherever you go, Walgreens, not Target, and then just that empowerment and education of people, I think, is extremely important right now. And then eventually we as American people will overpower what he's trying to do, I feel like, hopefully, and get enough people to say, like, this is completely fucked, something needs to change. Because I always believe that while the U.S. military is the most powerful military in the world, yes, we as the American people are the most powerful people in the world as well. Then us, on top of getting other nations, Spain, France, Italy, Germany, to join our side and kind of restrict Trump from doing anything further. I feel like just holding him back enough to where he can't make those moves to stay in office.
What's your the deputy chief of staff for Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, has said that ICE agents can really act with, like, unlimited authority right here, that they can act kind of beyond the local laws in the furtherance of their mission. Has it been, for folks who aren't here, like, really lay out for them, has it been that stark? Are they flouting laws in order to arrest what are mostly just hard-working people here in the Chicagoland area?
Absolutely. That's why Bovino's upstairs right now, is because he's infringing upon our First Amendment rights through taking away our freedom of speech to a point, tear gassing people, attacking people. Several people in Chicago have died. I mean, or been shot, whatever has happened. It's terrifying. I think that they're acting without laws, without anyone holding them back. And that is why Sarah Alice needs to pull them back upstairs right now while it's still early, and say, beyond a slap of the wrist, further the restrictions, further the TRO, say, okay, you can't do this, and this, whatever that is, whatever she decides. But she needs to do that early on instead of just a slap on the wrist, because, you know, the kid that reaches his hand into the cookie jar, gets a slap on the wrist, he's going to do it again. He's going to continue it. And then at some point, it's, all that happens is a slap on the wrist until something else. And then Sarah Ellis eventually won't be able to put in infringements upon ICE just because as they build power.
So I wanted to end here with just what's your message to people outside the Chicagoland area, aren't here right now, can't, like, directly protest outside of this federal court building right now, or can't be at Broadview? How would you want to see them involved in helping support what you all are doing out here, or resist the Trump administration in their own ways?
Absolutely. I would say by if you can't be out there in Broadview, can't be here today, if you have any extra money that you can donate to getting food out there to people in Broadview even, or promoting different nonprofits around the city or country. If you don't have extra time, probably have extra money that you can give. I just clean out my bank account to $30 or so for this cause, just because I know that there are people that need it more than I do. And then I'm getting paid in a week. I know that that money will return. And then just finding any way that you can, whether that's having a conversation at work, having a conversation at Walgreens, furthering the education, or just reading articles at night before you go to bed, staying up to beat on what's happening.
Quinn, is there anything else you want to add while you have the platform?
Not much. Just empower America, educate yourself in this, along with terms of sexual assault and every other issue that's happening in America. Taking the power to the people is extremely important right now.
Thank you very much for the time. I appreciate it. All right. John, let's come over here real quick. I just wanted to pivot away just so I could, do a couple of things. We've got new updates as to what is actually happening here inside of the courthouse, which I will read out shortly. But before I do, I want to call attention to the fact that we are both reporting on what is happening inside this courthouse and lifting up the voices of the people who are demonstrating here outside at the same time. We're doing it with just myself and John behind the camera. You know, I'm seeing a few other news outlets out here. It looks like it's mostly local folks. So I'm not really seeing the national outlets here. So in terms of like a national presence, it's really just Status Coup, and it really has been, aside from a couple of days earlier in the month when the National Guard were about to be deployed. Then all the cameras came out and all the reporters came out. But for the vast majority of that time, the enactment of this authoritarian playbook here in the Chicagoland area has really only been lifted up by independent media outlets, and no one is doing so as consistently and for such a long time as Status Coup. So if you can, please go to statuscoup.com/join, become a member. For $5 a month, you help keep John and I here on the ground reporting out this story as it's happening. We punch way above our weight as a scrappy little organization, and we do so without taking advertiser dollars, without compromising our mission at all, so that you know that the information that we are bringing you, the perspectives that we are bringing you, it is just what is happening here on the ground, because that is what you are going to pay for, and we are only beholden to you, our viewers, which is how media should work in this country, and it's a damn shame that it doesn't work that way for more people. Okay, so we've had a few updates from inside the courthouse. Again, we are here in downtown Chicago, outside of the federal court building here, where Commander Greg Bevino, who is leading Operation Midway Blitz here in the city of Chicago, has to answer for the way that he personally has deployed tear gas into crowds, and his agents have done so in this city, and the way that they have used pepper balls and rubber bullets, despite a judge's order restricting the use of a lot of those uses of force. So he is here supposedly to answer questions, though so far what we have heard from this judge is just a lot of like treating Greg Bevino like a child, reading her order back to him so that he knows that he is in violation of said order, rather than actually trying to put any real tough questioning to him so far. So a lot of what's coming out of this courtroom to us right now is coming via the Chicago Sun-Times and the Chicago Tribune. Here's what their reporters are telling us from inside the room. That Ellis said, quote, "They must tell people what they are going to do before they do it," referencing the federal agents out here. Like, before they deploy tear gas, they have to say that they are going to do so. It can't be an afterthought. So that people have the opportunity to comply. Meaning, if you need a crowd to back up, to disperse, you have to tell them what you want them to do first before you just unleash hell and pain on a whole neighborhood, as we have seen with the use of this tear gas. I interviewed a man up in the Lakeview neighborhood where tear gas was deployed over the weekend. He came out of his house. He was like down the street around the corner from where the tear gas was deployed. He came out as it was dispersing. So told me that he came out and it was nauseous, that he felt nauseous after just inhaling it a little bit from that far away. And like that's happening to, and he was a guy probably about my age, looked like he was in his 30s, healthy guy. I can't imagine the impact it's having on the elderly, on kids that we see out in these neighborhoods, on more vulnerable populations. Bovino is just continuing to simply listen to the judge. And then Ellis finally asks a question, which is, where are agents supposed to put their, quote, star number or whatever the number is, unquote, referring to the way that they are identifying themselves to the crowds? Because that has been a huge complaint, not only here but across the country, is that these agents are masked. You don't know who they are. When they show up outside of places, when they jump out of unmarked vehicles and they are just masked men running towards you, to try and effect an arrest or to demand proof of your citizenship, that show us your papers kind of talk, they're not identifiable in any real capacity, which means they cannot be held to any real sense of account. So the judge saying, where are any sort of identification? Bevino says, quote, I instructed all agents under my command to conspicuously, to place an identifier conspicuously somewhere on their uniform. Somewhere on their uniform, conspicuously. I instructed them, meaning washed my hands of it. I have given an order, I promise, Judge, to have them conspicuously show it somewhere on their uniform rather than on a uniform place across all agents where they could to look, in terms of a police officer, to look at their badge. Same thing should be true for a federal agent, that I can look and know at a simple glance who you are or how to reference you to your superiors or in court if need be. Ellis says she wants to agree with Bevino right here and now on a place for that identifier to appear on agents' uniform. So trying to say that these badge numbers, so to speak, should appear in one given location, in a consistent location. Bovino says he'd like a couple of options. Again, just creating inconsistency already on the most minor of requests. Can we get any identifiers on officers in one standard location, something you think would be common sense? The Greg Bevino already going outside of his way to try and obfuscate, duck, just throw sand in the judge's gears. If you can't get him to agree on this, Judge, why treat him like a rational actor in all of this, clearly operating in bad faith? Ellis says, quote, why don't we say that the identifier needs to be in a conspicuous location, at least two places? Is that fair? Unquote. Bovino says, quote, can we have in a conspicuous location? Unquote. Meaning not in a consistent location, just somewhere conspicuously, meaning just kind of, and what is conspicuous really? Can they be placed just so long as they are technically on the clothes somewhere? You can already see the fucking dodging of the real issue here of the way to just be able to technically comply with the judge's request without actually being able to identify any agents. You can already read that in what Bevino is saying here inside the courtroom. Ellis says, quote, why don't we say that the identifier needs to be in a conspicuous I just read that. Ellis tries to confirm with Bovino that all Border Patrol agents have body cams, and Bevino says, quote, I believe the vast 99% do. I think there are few that don't have them issued to them yet, unquote. Okay, again, this is ICE we're talking about. They are now the most funded law enforcement agency on the planet. They have a budget larger than many nations' militaries. And we can't ensure that they're all wearing body cameras, and that they are able to be able to verify what these agents are saying, when they are coming back from these missions, that this is not just taking the agent's word for it. In a lot of cases, can we at least get them all body cams? Bevino says, I think a lot of them do. Okay, make it uniform, make it standard, make it so that they can't go out on missions unless they have it equipped and verified that it works. This stuff is not rocket science. I am not a genius by any means. I am a reporter standing on the side of the street. I can think of better ways to make this work than what Greg Bevino is pitching inside of this courtroom right now. So yes, if the best way that you can help us too in this stream, there's 700 of you watching. If even a fraction of you, just reach down. I want you to just reach down right now. Click that like button on this stream because that will tell the algorithm to boost it to more people. Helps us get the word out about what is happening here in the Chicagoland area. And if you're watching us, thank you. So please hit that like button. Subscribe to us if you haven't. So you get notifications about when we go live for future live reports. We have, again, been here on the ground in Chicago for weeks now. So, yes, please hit that like button, hit subscribe, and then if you can, go to statuscoup.com/join. It is expensive for us to do this. Help keep real independent media alive here in Chicagoland. Or here in this country, excuse me. I spend so much time in Chicago, I think it's the only place on earth. Okay. Ellis is now done reading through her temporary restraining order, which is what she had been doing with Greg Bevino, just reading to him like he was a child. She asked Greg Bevino, "Do you have any questions for me after going through this?" And Bevino says, "No, Your Honor." Ellis is now questioning him about specific alleged violations. So this was the meat of what we wanted to get to, and that is just what they are starting to do now inside of this courtroom, is actually get to the heart of the issue here, which is questioning about the specific use of violence that has been documented and demonstrated for so many of in so many neighborhoods here in Chicago, the blatant violations of this judge's order. And we want to see if the judge will attempt to hold folks accountable in any real sense. So, John, we're kind of done here with these updates. If we want to kind of just show the scene here again, you're here seeing some shouting here between some of the protesters out here and a gentleman who just walked through the front gate.
You can't talk? Yeah, you go to jail for talking?
That's the First Amendment.
You don't even know. You don't even know.
Officers.
You're the enemies of the people. And you defend a piece of shit.
If you put anything on the fence, it'll come down. And if you assault me, you're going to go to jail.
Look at you being professional. Big tough guy. Big tough guy. Hitler would be proud. Hitler would be really proud of you. Shut.
Well, make sure they don't put anything on the fence.
Get out of the right side. You got your money for you.
Show more of the protesters.
Ma'am, I'm a reporter. Can I interview you about that exchange? Like what just happened there?
Sure.
Yeah. So, what's your name?
Jenny?
Jenny. Nice to meet you. I'm JT. Can you tell me what happened there? We missed the very beginning of it. What was the shouting about?
He was just, talking, thinking he was big and bad. So, I gotta stand up for my peoples. So, yeah.
Somebody tried to put a sign up on the fence?
Put a sign, and then they all came and told him that he wasn't supposed to put no signs. And whoever puts a sign was going to get arrested. So that's when she came, she heard everything, and that's when she started arguing with them.
Yeah.
Understood. So just for the simple act of trying to put a sign up as like part of a form of protest,
he was
then
big and bad, saying he was security, but in reality he wasn't nothing. That's why he walked away. He was just trying to, try to be funny, but in reality he wasn't.
Seems like we got it's upside down, but so what were the messages that you guys came out here to deliver today?
Well, one, we're here for Bovino. He got caught today because of the tear gas and everything that he's doing wrong, and he knows he's doing everything wrong. We're here to support everybody that was detained, people that are not detained but are scared. We want everything to be changed back to where it was, because illegals, we're with everybody. It doesn't matter. Like, without Mexicans or anybody else, we wouldn't be the way we are. Because there's a lot of people out here, especially white people, they don't want to work. It's us Hispanics that are working. We're the ones that, we're not causing no trouble, nothing like that. So we're just trying to get our voice heard, especially for the people that can't speak for themselves.
What would justice look like to you here in Chicago?
Just them leaving us alone, leaving our people alone, getting rid of ICE, arresting all of them, knowing that they're doing wrong, touching us, doing something that is under our amendment. They're not supposed to be doing none of this, what they're doing. What they're doing is wrong, so we're here for justice for everybody. So, you're not able to, like, you're out here trying to deliver this message. You're not allowed to put a sign up on a fence. Out at Broadview ICE Detention Facility, where we've been reporting for the last several weeks, we've seen their protest areas get shrunk down, so small, limited to only certain hours. Do you feel like you still have a voice here in this country? Like, do you feel like you can be heard? I feel like it, but we just got to get it out to the person that actually cares. Which there's a lot of people in the offices that actually care. They got feelings, everything. Officers got feelings and everything. She was arrested, and she noticed that the federal agents that arrested her, they have feelings. Because how she was protesting and saying things, they were not saying nothing back. And how I was telling everybody, like, they care. They're just over here for the money. Because ICE agents are, trying to tell them, oh, we'll give you $5,000 bonus to join us. For what reason? You're not even paying these people. So
you were arrested by federal agents?
I was arrested 2 days ago. So they were in my neighborhood, and I was driving around, and I was chasing them, letting the community know that they were there. So they ended up trapping me in and taking me out the car and taking me to jail.
Just for following them in the vehicle?
Yeah.
Put on her paperwork that she assaulted an agent, which that was wrong. She never touched them, nothing.
So yeah, let's really walk through it in detail here. Like, so they're alleging that you assaulted an agent. In reality, like, okay, so you're following them. Like, do they pull you over? Like, how does that happen?
Okay, so I was following them, and then I followed them because they were going to a construction area. So I followed them, and I was just screaming, "La migra, la migra." So they end up stopping their cars and reversing it. So I was going to reverse my car, and when I reversed it, there was another car behind me, and then there was another car next to me. And that's when they were like, "Get out the car, get out the car." And they took me out the car and put me in handcuffs and left my car and just put me in the van and took me.
I want to point out that what she's describing of, like, following around the federal agents here, that is not, like, it's not just something that you are just doing by yourself. Like, this is happening across the city of Chicago right now. Like, this is one way that folks have found that they can make a difference in their communities by standing up, by warning people that masked federal agents who are not identifying themselves, not displaying identifying markings. Apparently that is what the judge is asking Greg Bevino about upstairs right now, is how the hell are your agents identifying themselves? Let's arrive at, like, a plan for you to actually do that, to make it so that these agents can be held accountable. Masked agents jumping out of unmarked vehicles, demanding people's paperwork, rounding up people just for the crime of being here and attempting to make a better life for themselves, for their families. And one way that communities have found that they can stand up in a nonviolent way is to just go around, like, follow these ICE vehicles as they are driving down the public city streets and do things like honk the horns, yell out the windows. People have got whistles here that they are blowing, but ICE and the federal agents don't like that enough so much that they boxed you in, is what it sounds like. That they started to reverse, so you're like, oh, I will reverse as well. You weren't trying to impede their vehicle at all. They ended up impeding you. And so then did you get out of the vehicle when they asked you to, or did they have to drag you out?
I had a microphone, and I was screaming, saying, "La migra, la migra." My window was already down. So my window was already down. They went in and opened my door and took me out.
See, that's a crime right there. You can't do that. You cannot just open somebody's vehicle without their permission, without a judge giving you a warrant or anything like that. And everybody here in the United States knows that.
Did they ever tell you why they were doing it? Like, in that moment when they're like just telling you to get out, like, are they telling you, like, what you've done?
Me, and I'm telling them, for what reason? Why am I getting arrested? Why am I getting arrested? One said because I was impeding. The other one said because I was running red lights.
Oh, so they can't even come to a real reason. And one is saying impeding, which, like, might be, if they had evidence, like, that might be like a crime that's a federal crime. Otherwise, the other one is saying red light, like they're like traffic cops.
Yeah, that's what I told them.
And another thing too, you know how they say us recording without permission is a crime? They have body cams on that are not real. They're not even recording, and they're trying to say that they're recording, but in reality they're not.
Yeah, and that's also something that the judge is talking to the agents about upstairs, is that some of these agents are being sent out without body cameras on them whatsoever. And when they activate them is really kind of, they're supposedly supposed to be given training on when and how they're doing it, but we've seen through video evidence the agents are really only activating the body cameras when they feel like it. So, and this is like a sense, like you're hearing just one story here. Multiply this by a city of millions of people. How many people are getting this exact same treatment here in the Chicagoland area?
Doing too, they're stopping people and they're taking their plates off of their vehicles to put them on theirs. So that's a crime right there. I feel why that if we would do that, we're going to jail. I don't see why just because they have a suit saying they're federal agents or whatever. So this is unfair. Everything's unfair.
Yeah. Getting to the heart of it there, which is if you or I acted in the way that these federal agents are, if we put on a mask and we drove around in a vehicle and in just like a van and jumped out and just started grabbing random people off the street to pull them into that vehicle without like having a warrant, without it. Yeah, exactly. It happens every single day here.
Just like they just stopped a guy that he was dressed as ICE agents. Well, he wasn't, but he was grabbing immigrants, saying that just because their skin color, they arrested him. Why can't they arrest them?
Yeah, is that what you want to see from like your local leaders, like actually like arrest ICE agents or at least try and hold them to some sort of law? Like what does leadership look like to you in this moment? What do you want to see from your local and state leaders right now?
I want everybody to have the same judgment, the same everything. Like if we do a crime and if we're doing what they're doing and we could get arrested, I want them to see the same actions on them.
What about you?
The same thing. I want them to get out of our town, to leave our people alone, to release the good people because they're just grabbing anybody. It's not only criminals. And yeah, just leave us alone. Leave everybody alone.
You've obviously got your own personal harrowing story here. I mean, are you facing charges right now, or were you just detained and then released? What's been
facing federal charges? So assaulting a federal agent.
And even though they never said assault anywhere in that time that they were doing the arrest, that came later.
That came later once the big boss came and talked to me. Yeah.
When you say the big boss, was it Greg Bevino?
No, it wasn't Greg Bovino. It was whoever was out. Yeah, I didn't see him, but it was a different guy.
Can I get your name?
Jessica.
Jessica, nice to meet you. Thank you guys both for sharing your perspectives out here. I'm assuming both from Chicago or nearby, and whole lives here. Yeah. How does it make you feel to see this happening in your city, in your communities?
It's real sad. Like it's very heartbreaking seeing these families getting broken apart for no reason. Just like Trump, his wife, she got papers now, but she did a crime by coming to the United States without papers. Just like the people that they're detaining. A lot of people got papers, but yeah, they came over here illegally, but they're trying to, work it out. They're trying to work, do everything the right way. And he's still trying to break people's families apart. Like, it's very sickening.
Okay, what was the question one more time?
How does it feel to see this happening in your community?
It hurts. Like, this literally hurts. There's sometimes that I be at work and I just be thinking, I just cry. Like, how can somebody tackle our people? How can somebody kidnap them? How can they do that? How can they separate lives? How can they just treat them like animals?
And then not only that, the way that they're taking people from their jobs and everything, there's a lot of jobs out here that do extensive backgrounds that the Border Patrol has to give them their way of working. If the Border Patrol gave them the reason to work, why are you taking them? Like, you're contradicting yourself at this point.
Do you feel like, I mean, are we there? Are we in like a fascist dictatorship? Is that where this country is right now when you see these things happening in your community?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
Like, they're saying one thing but going against what they're saying at the same time, which is not right. Because if we do that as American citizens, we're going to be in the wrong. So,
what's the way that you see out of this at this point?
Just giving our letting people hear our voice and everything. Hopefully, one day it will change. So just like Trump right now, for all the people that are receiving food stamps, he thinks that it's the illegals that's receiving them, but really it's the U.S. citizens that are receiving them. He's just like, I don't get what he's trying to do. Like, there's a lot of people out here that is with families that can't feed them. People working 2-3 jobs that still can't feed them. How dare you go and just do all this? Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, you really decided to become president to ruin everything? Like, it's sick.
How do you see, what's the way out of this that you see?
The way out of this,
There's really no way out at this point.
I don't see anything. It's just us, the only voices that we have. There's not a lot of us. We need more people to help us stand. I don't know.
You want to see more people out, like in places here? That's what you mean by that? Like you
Helping us, stand with us, letting the world go around. And yeah.
One of the silver linings in all of this that I've seen so far has just been the way that communities have come together and organized, doing things like, the following the ICE agents, the blowing the whistles, the community group chats that happen that, text when immigration enforcement is out. Can you both just tell me, like, what are some of those examples that you've seen in your communities of people coming together to help each other right now?
I see a lot, and I feel like that is really good. I feel so bad for the people that are scared to do it. That's why that we are not scared. We're here to, come and join everybody, going to different communities, making sure they come out. I'm just proud of everybody that is out here, standing out here, doing what they got to do for our peoples, regardless the race or what it is.
And you, Jessica?
The same thing. I seen a lot of things. I seen people getting pushed to the ground. I seen them throwing those smoke things at children. It's crazy. And it's gonna get worse. I don't think it's not gonna get any better until we stand up and we say something, act on it. We need more people.
Thank you both very much. I appreciate the time. Thank you, guys. All right.
Over here, we said, all right, guys, JT will be right back. He's on the phone with Jordan right now. We're going to get some more updates for you. Don't forget to smash the like button and share this live stream. Here's JT.
Were you just resetting for us, John? John's a pro. Yeah, so I don't need to tell you where we are and why we're here. I can just kind of get back into the news of what is happening here inside this courtroom where Greg Bevino is now being addressed by a federal judge. Ellis has ordered, this is breaking news coming out of this courthouse behind us. Ellis has ordered Bevino to appear in court every day at 6 p.m. in person to report on any events that have taken place that day. She also wants all use of force incident reports and body cam footage from September 2nd through last weekend, meaning the entirety of Operation Midway Blitz, through last weekend, given to her by Friday. So that's some real teeth now that we're actually seeing from the judge, that Bovino is going to have to haul his ass down here to this courthouse, up into this courtroom, to address every use of force incident. And that's the kind of thing that might affect real change, right? You're putting the Trump administration in an uncomfortable position where they actually have to do something. I'll note that this is not like any sort of real consequence for what has happened thus far for the elimination of the order. Like it's really just an inconvenience for Greg Bevino, but at least it is something. When the Chicago neighborhoods have seen again and again tear gassing, rubber bullets, pepper balls, the use of force repeatedly by folks or by these agents on innocent bystanders, on folks just trying to come out and exercise their First Amendment rights. It's hardly restitution for that, but it at least is something. You can imagine that if your boss got some kind of order that he would have to appear before a federal judge every single day to justify your actions at work, the way you comported yourself in your job, the way that might put pressure on your boss to make change in how you are acting. Seeing people coming out.
And he has to report on what he did during the day, under oath, every day starting tomorrow. So ought to be entertaining. All right, I'm out. I didn't represent anyone.
Just that word.
all here to...
Yeah, just that word coming out of the courthouse of exactly what we were just reporting on the inside. That, again, Greg Bevino, this is breaking news coming out of this courthouse. Greg Bevino is going to have to appear in this courtroom every single day.
Want to catch Robert?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, you got to keep this area clear. Slide over, let people through.
Robert. We just heard the news coming out of court. Were you actually inside the room at all, or nearby?
I was in the overflow room.
You're in the overflow room.
Yeah, so I had audio, I had headphones on for the audio, and I had a TV screen to watch.
So I apologize for jumping this on you right here, but so first again we're here with Robert. Robert's an attorney here in Chicago. You've been out at the protests. You've been very involved in everything that's been going on with Operation Midway Blitz in terms of resisting the Trump administration and what it is attempting to do here in the Chicagoland area. We just got that news that Greg Bevino is going to have to appear here at the federal courthouse every day at 6 o'clock. What was the reaction from Bevino like in the courtroom? I'm curious.
Well, again, I was in an overflow courtroom, so there was no judge sitting in front of us, and it was packed, and there were some snickers and quiet laughs.
Yeah. What's your reaction having heard it? Does that begin to even really address some of the concerns that you personally have had about the use of force here in the Chicago area?
I think it's great what the judge is doing. She's treating Mr. Bovino with a great deal of respect and even some deference, but at the same time treating him like the child that he is. He has violated, and his agents have violated her orders. She knows that. She has the videotape. She went through in detail during this hearing today about what the allegations are about violations of her temporary restraining order to get his reaction. For the most part, he said that he would need more context. He would need more information about the specific incidents, but he had to concede at various points where she made it clear enough for a 3-year-old. He had to concede that the conduct that was described in the affidavits that she was reading from or summarizing did not constitute any sort of it was inappropriate, I should say, for the kind of reaction they were getting from ICE, i.e. the force that they were using against innocent protesters was completely inappropriate.
So as you say, you weren't sitting right in front of the judge. You can't see her face, but you can hear what she's saying in that overflow room. I was just getting the text of what's coming out of the court out here, and to me, it seemed in the moment like the judge was giving Greg Bevino quite a bit of deference in the "I wasn't clear. Let me read my order to you." I mean, perhaps I wasn't giving the judge enough credit out here. I mean, was she really treating him like a child for that duration, or was there something that made it flip? I mean, at what point did she really kind of come down on Bevino?
Well, I use that word, and I'm looking down at my notes. I took verbatim notes of what happened in the courtroom, but essentially, there's two things at the same time. On the one hand, her words of respect and the intonation is one of respect for the commander of the Border Patrol. But what's actually happening is treating him like a 3-year-old, because she's requiring him to report every day at 6 o'clock. She's requiring written reports on their use of force. When he, tries to look for wiggle room, she pins him down. For example, she asked him, this is, quote, to ensure that as you go enforcing the law is that it is done in a manner that is objectively reasonable. And then she said, and quote, and within the Fourth Amendment. So she's being very specific and very clear that she wants her TRO followed, and the First Amendment and the Fourth Amendment are applicable in all circumstances.
Yeah, it seems like we got Bevino coming out. Robert, thank you very much. Yep, absolutely. So yeah, we're expecting Greg Bevino to be coming out of the courtroom shortly. That's why you can see all of these cameras lined up here waiting to get the shot of him coming out of the courtroom. We're also going to try and get a shot here, show you what his reaction is here in the immediate aftermath of that court order, which is that he's going to have to be down here every single day and justify his agent's actions and provide the body camera video for the last now 2 months of agents' use of force actions here in the Chicagoland area. Yeah, security's clearing a path here, making sure that there is a path that everybody who's filing out of the court now are just seeing like little drips and drabs of people coming out right now, but they're trying to keep the area clear so that folks can continue to exit, because there's quite a bit of cameras down here right now, some actual media attention down here. Though I'll note that there's not nearly the same amount of attention out at the black site, the public black site out in Broadview, Illinois, where folks are being held in cages out there, reportedly packed so tightly that they have to sleep standing up. It's really just us out there, which is, again, goes to please support the important work that we are doing. You can just see this mass of people that are now crowded here around the entrance to the federal courthouse, all waiting for Commander Greg Bevino to come out after he has just been scolded like a child, is what we've heard inside this courtroom, for the way that his agents have comported themselves. Again, a small way of getting some justice out here in Chicago, because it doesn't begin to make whole the lives of people like the family of the one gentleman who was killed here in the Chicagoland area, of the woman who was shot, of any of the folks who were detained and then released without charge, and just the whole communities that have been terrorized as part of Operation Midway Blitz. But at least it's something. And if you're watching at home, excuse the dead air while I'm not talking. We're kind of waiting with bated breath for Greg Bevino to come out here, and I'm kind of preparing to get in there to be able to hold the microphone up so that you can hear what he has to say as he comes out of the courtroom, maybe get a question in myself, and I have to be ready for that, because there are quite a few reporters out here. It'll be tough to get close. I should also point out that course, anything that comes out of this, any decision that this judge makes is subject to appeal, and it's likely that the Trump administration will try and appeal this decision to a higher court, as well as we've seen with other orders that have come out of this Chicagoland area. One is actually pending before the Supreme Court right now. So we can't ever take this as just, definite as the way things will just be going forward into the future. But at least for now, the ruling is that Greg Bevino, the leader of the Trump administration's deportation efforts here in the Chicagoland area, is going to have to justify himself every day to a federal judge about any use of force here in the Chicagoland area. The judge has also ordered, we're just getting word now, the judge has also ordered that Bevino has to have his own body-worn camera by Friday. Bevino told her he has no camera and he's not been trained to use one. But he apparently has been trained to throw tear gas into groups of peaceful protesters. We have video of that, and likely is a big driving force behind why the judge ordered that he wear a body camera going forward. But the judge, notably, I'm just seeing now from reporters inside the courtroom that the judge is not granting the motion to ban the use of tear gas wholesale, but she's not denying it either. She's keeping it in her back pocket. That's a direct quotes from the court reporter for the Chicago Sun-Times who was there in the courtroom. The judge says that given her chat with Bevino today, quote, "I don't know that we're going to see a whole lot of tear gas being deployed over the next week," unquote. A lot of confidence from the judge. We'll see how it plays out here on the ground. And the judge warning Bevino, quote, "I know my lane and I will stay in my lane, but I'm also not afraid to enforce this temporary restraining order."
You don't have to be behind everyone.
I'm not sure if I'm peeking into the bottom of John's frame at all, if you're able to see me. I'm now standing here, I'm looking down the side of the building here where we would expect Greg Bovino to come out, and then he'll have to walk along the fence line that surrounds this building. There's a fence up all the way around this building, so he has to come out through just a couple of entry points, and it's likely this one that he's going to come out of. So we're looking down the side of the building because it'll give us some heads up that he is coming. And the security guards have been out here clearing a path through the media and assembled protesters. I'll note that a lot of the protesters out here are smiling, giggling, seem quite pleased with what came out of today's courtroom, today's court hearing. Yeah, you're looking right now at the fence that's up all the way around this building. Judge Ellis has told the lawyers for the Trump administration to be careful on Halloween. Quote, "I do not want to get violations from the plaintiffs saying agents are out and about on Halloween where kids are present and tear gas is being deployed or pepper balls are being deployed. I expect everybody to act reasonably." That is something that John and I have been talking to each other off camera about, like, what does Halloween around here in Chicago look like, given the federal presence and the ease with which they are just deploying tear gas and rubber bullets and pepper balls so willy-nilly. The judge also recognizing that possibility there and issuing a warning, but if the agents are going to do it, it's not like the judge is going to be there in the moment to stop them. While we're waiting here for Greg Bevino to come out, I will just give a big welcome to new Status Coup members Sarah, Gordon, and Leanne. Thank you both, thank all three of you very much. You don't know what that means to our team. You really don't. I mean, I get up and I talk about how important it is to support our work, and when we get new members, I really try to learn the names because I'm so grateful that you support the work that we're doing. We got a whole mass of people coming out here. I don't see any of anybody with the Trump administration in this group here.
Have a moment. I'm so glad that Status Coup is out here. I was just talking about you with so many other protesters.
Huh?
We're doing good work out here.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Status Coup getting some love here in the crowd, too. We do get recognized around town quite a bit now because we've been on the ground here for a month, which a lot of other outlets cannot claim that. And we're only able to be here because of folks like our members who just joined, who give us just $5 a month to keep us here on the ground. So if you're able to, please, statuscoup.com/join to get a real sense for what it's like here on the ground. You're going to be able to hear live what Greg Bevino says if we're able to get him here outside of the courtroom because of the generous support of our members. And we got a whole mass of people coming out now. They're still wrapping up proceedings inside the courtroom. At least that's according to... Oh, no, court is adjourned. The court is adjourned. That is according to the Chicago Sun-Times reporter who is there in the room. So we should be keeping an eye out here for... The judge apparently told lawyers for the Trump administration, quote, if they are using tear gas, they better be able to back it up, meaning justify its use. Quote, and if they can't, then they will lose that as something they can use. So the judge holding open the possibility there that that tear gas might be taken away from federal agents as a way that they can respond to what have been largely peaceful protests here in the Chicagoland area. There's another crowd now coming down the side of the courthouse building here. Tough to tell who's all in the crowd from this perspective, and there's a fence, of course, in the way. Greg Bevino was not in that group.
Where are the SUVs?
They're not here. I don't think it's here.
You think this is
It's been like 20 minutes.
But just have a look, like if I need to peel.
I will.
Just and always sort of be in my eye. Like if I look around and it's just up different. I got a shot. Like last second.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're good, you're good.
I know how heavy those things are. What are they? 15 pounds?
Oh, this one's not bad.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm good. That looks heavier than my camera. Or is it just an illusion?
If you want to hold it.
That's not bad, actually. Do you get help getting ready in the morning? Or do you have help getting ready? Or do you do it all yourself?
Just me.
Wow. That's incredible. You didn't miss a spot, I gotta tell you.
That's all I can see in this stuff right now. I think I feel the same way about the photos sometimes. Yeah, it's not so big difference, right? It's not much.
Right on.
Pretty focused right now. I'm a reporter. Would you mind if I interviewed you about why you wanted to be out here today? Sure.
Like talk.
all the way through, both sides. Thank you. We're going to be coming out soon, so please,
I think I want to go talk to Ben real quick. I'm going to switch spots with you if that's okay. Someone just dropped something. No, it's okay. No worries.
Try and go off the shotgun, Mike? All right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we had a little bit of a technical difficulty there. Our microphone ran out of battery because we've been streaming so much over here, interviewing so many people. So I apologize for that. Hopefully you're able to hear me now. And so, Maria. No?
Yeah. No, it's all good. No worries. And I think everyone's crowding up because he's about to come out, I believe.
Oh, shit. Well, if that's the case, I'll go to my phone. Yeah, you'll see the police are now a lot closer to the building.
Oh, yeah. They're ready, I think.
Yeah, but you've got the shotgun going? Yeah, so again, we're replacing the batteries in our microphone here so that way you guys can actually hear what is happening out here, be able to follow along with us. Thank you for your patience while we troubleshoot these things. I mean, that's the beauty of doing this live, is that we run into problems like this. And thank you for being game as well through all of this.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
We appreciate you being out here, actually, just documenting all of this. It's really important, honestly, having people just reporting what's happening right now.
It is tough work. That was fast work, John. All right. Mic check 1 2. John, do you hear me? Hear me now? Yep. All right. So, Maria, I apologize. Before we stopped there, where we paused our interview, was at a point where I was talking about, you're talking about justice looking like bringing whole communities back together, something that, I mean, probably is not possible now. But yeah, that's what justice would look like. What do you want to see from your leaders right now, your elected leaders, state, local, federal, to try and get as close to that level of justice as possible? What kind of pressure should they be exerting on the Trump administration?
Definitely supporting Latino communities, especially since they're the ones that are being really impacted right now. Just having people like aldermen just speak to the community members. I know a lot of people in communities have been going out, reaching out to their neighbors, but having leaders actually go into these communities and say, like, okay, what do you need? Like, what's going on right now that's affecting you? I know a lot of people have not been going out at all. They haven't been leaving their homes. It impacted their work, their daily activities. So just them addressing what's going on and just kind of saying, like, how can I support the community? And just ways that they can reach out to them, just offering them resources as well. It's just something that just being there for them is important, especially now since a lot of people aren't really getting a lot of support. So knowing that they have leaders that actually look after them would be a major help.
Say it would be a major help to have leaders who actually look out for them. Are there policies that you say, hey, this would actually be looking out for people?
Yeah, so just a lot of things like, oh
he's coming out. Is our Border Patrol agents here moving people to the side? Come here.
Stay with me.
Yeah, Border Patrol agents now are taking over the crowd management here as presumably Greg Bevino is about to come out of the courthouse. Chicago police officers had been over here ready to do crowd management, and security inside of the court, inside of the federal court building had been doing it. But of course, this is in keeping with the escalatory tactics that we've seen out of Border Patrol and other DHS agents out here. They step in unnecessarily. Rile up everybody that's out here to protest their presence in the city. They don't need to be here, just to give an intimidating escort out of the courthouse for their leader. He could have walked out like anybody else.
How does your wife feel about you guys? They ain't fucking nobody. Y'all ain't getting no pussy, man. Pussy dried up and y'all came and heard it.
Broke bitches, punk ass motherfuckers.
Shame on you, motherfucker.
Shame on you.
Fuck you.
Virgin Army motherfuckers. Cousins don't count. Cousins don't count, you redneck bitch. Fuck y'all. Get the fuck out of my city.
Get out of our city.
You goofy motherfuckers, man. You fucking pussies. Why you even standing here? What are you doing? Goofy bitches.
Ice go home.
Ice go home. Ice go home. Ice go home.
Fuck you, Ice.
Fuck you, young. Hey. Don't cover your fucking ugly ass face, bitch.
Ice go home. Ice go home.
Get your punk asses out of here, man. Fuck y'all, man.
Come up to Ice go home. 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 Get the fuck out of here.
Fuck out of here. Oh, go back there, little bitches.
Little bitches.
Oh, your little daddy, Bovino. What's wrong? Bitch ass motherfucker. Punk ass bitch. Don't touch nobody. Hey, hey. Hey, fuck you. Sorry, I'm sorry. Fuck you. Hey, 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 hey.
Hey, Marcos.
Follow the agents where they walked around. We're going to follow the agents where they walked around the side of the building. Yeah, they might be coming back this way, but... Security are unlocking a different entrance to the courthouse here. Oh, now locking it back up. Police are blocking people on the sidewalk from going any closer.
Status Coup. Love you guys. Yeah. Be safe.
Yeah, you too. I'm right here. I'm right here.
What's your goddamn cowardly traitor?
He's going into this car here.
Where's the badge numbers? Where's your badge numbers?
Easier to me to get to. Yep, that's Greg Bevino is coming out the door right now. That's him without the helmet on.
Shame on every single one of you! Bovino, fuck you, bitch! Shame on you! These motherfuckers are for the FBI agent! kidnapping Nazi scum! Fuck you!
Get your microphone. Get your microphone.
Bovino, fuck you, bitch! Get the fuck out of my city, bitch! You are not welcome, bitch! You are not welcome! Get the fuck out of my city, bitch! Get the fuck out of my city, bitch! These are my streets! These are my streets!
Get the fuck out of Chicago!
Get the fuck out of my city, bitch! You can't drive, bitch! You can't drive! That's city property!
And you crossed the line! Mr. Bovino! Chicago is watching, and you crossed the line! Mr. Bovino! Chicago is watching, and you crossed the line!
Back it up! Back it up!
Mr. Bovino!
Back it up!
Chicago is watching!
Back it up!
You crossed the line!
Back it up!
This is what the Nuremberg trials were for, Bovino! Fuck you! Fuck you, bitch! Stupid bitch! Fuck you up! Fuck you, bitch!
Robert, what was the message that you were trying to give to Greg Bevino there?
I said, Mr. Bovino, Chicago is watching, and you've crossed the line. What it refers to is the accountability that the courts are requiring and the people of the city of Chicago are requiring and trying to document. I'm out of breath. Sorry.
Yeah, we ran quite a ways there, and you're keeping up with the vehicle that whole way. Not the first time you've ran in the context of being around DHS agents, where they chased you down after you were trying to express yourself in keeping with your First Amendment rights. But this time, you're chasing them rather than them chasing you right after a judge in that federal courthouse puts new limitations on the Trump administration. It's a little bit of a heavy-handed metaphor, but, I mean, do you feel like the power balance here has all changed?
Well, certainly in the courtroom, he has no power. The judge has the power of a federal judge. And I think she took him to task, maybe not as harshly as, some people would want her to, but in a very diplomatic way, she put him in his place and told him that he's essentially, in different words, that you've got to follow my orders. And those include 2 warnings before you use any force, wearing the conspicuous identification, and body cameras, which he admitted in court that he doesn't have a body camera, and that was a violation of her prior order.
Right, and it was so clearly demonstrated in that video clip we saw of him lobbing tear gas into protesters in Little Village from just a few days ago that really precipitated this whole hearing. I got to ask, if you had had more time, what would you have wanted to say to Greg Bevino?
You say that your agents are acting ethically, legally, and morally every day. I say you're wrong, Mr. Bovino. Debate me. Anytime, anywhere. With a neutral moderator, let's have that debate. That's what I would have said.
What are some of the points that you want to make to him in a debate like that? I mean, do you think that there's any getting through to people in the Trump administration at this point?
I think if there's any chance that anybody could get through, it's the judge.
Let's get up on the sidewalk, Jim.
All right, let's cross.
It's are you still recording?
Yeah, we'll cross this.
Well, you want me to keep answering
Yeah,
or
go
wait?
for it,
Okay. So the judge said to him, and I've got some quotes, but the point she was making is that you're scaring kids, that you threw tear gas near a school with anywhere from 3-year-olds to up to 8th grade were walking near their school in their Halloween costumes, and she said you scared them, and it's not clear whether that memory, that frightening experience will ever be erased. And I think that point was so clear and stark that you're just scaring the city. This is not about law enforcement. It's about, in my words now, just an out-of-control police force that are not all wearing body cameras, that whose conspicuous identification is not visible contrary to her own order, and that is a problem.
The judge there made reference in her ruling, in talking to lawyers for the Trump administration, made clear that she is willing to take away the use of tear gas wholesale from the federal government here in the Chicago area if they continue to violate her order. To your mind, are we already there? Should she have already done it?
I didn't get to hear the whole hearing. I didn't hear that. I missed parts of it. Well, here's the thing. Everybody wants dangerous, non-citizen criminals off the street. There's no debate about that. But that is not what ICE and the federal agencies are doing. They're terrorizing our communities. Everybody knows this. There's video all over the internet. You guys have your own video. But they are terrorizing our neighborhoods. And this isn't law enforcement. It's something that is part of an authoritarian regime that seems designed to just intimidate and suppress people. And that's why there's so many people out at the courthouse, out protesting, out trying to observe, what the masked agents are doing.
What'd you make of this show of force from the Border Patrol agents who came to escort Bevino out? I know that Chicago police were ready to step in to do crowd control. Security from the courthouse was here doing some crowd management. I mean, to what extent is this about sending a message? We also saw Bevino pumping his fist right before, and clearly quite performative for the camera. I mean, what amount of this was designed spectacle to your estimate?
I don't know. I don't understand what's going on. He could have left through the underground, exit. He could have been in the, unmarked vehicles. They didn't need the show. I don't understand. I'm still, quite honestly, taking this all in. I don't know if he lied to the, if it's not clear what exactly is going on. The judge is obviously concerned about the tactics and whether her orders are being followed, and they're not being followed. And it just depends on how much leeway, how much rope she's going to give the federal agents.
We just ran with you for 2 blocks as you followed this convoy of Border Patrol vehicles out of downtown Chicago. Why did you feel like so strongly? Why was it important for you to run after and continue to try and engage Border Patrol and in trying to deliver your message? Why was that important that you have to exert all that energy into it?
I'm out of shape, and I wanted to deliver, one specific message, and that is that we're watching you, and I guess the overall theme is that this isn't right, and not everybody has call it the courage, I guess, or just the tenacity to deliver a message to Bovino. That's why I just like to debate him, because he's pretty damn tough when he's got 40 armed agents next to him. And I'm an unarmed protester, and he can yell at me and have his guys arrest me, which they did. But it's a little bit different when the facts are presented, and there's a forum where people can debate, what's right and what's wrong. And I think that's the forum that he would be less comfortable in, because the facts are not on his side.
You just said that this is my last question for you. you just said that you're not in shape, yet you outran everybody here, damn near outran John and I, and you really gave those ICE agents in a previous encounter a run for their money. Here you're chasing down cars. What is your cardio routine?
I just work out 6 days a week, all cardio. But I've got a artificial hip. I've got a lot of struggles in my old age.
Well, it doesn't show. Robert, thank you very much for the time again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So there was a lot that just happened there. A lot that just happened here in the last few minutes. So I'll kind of walk you through that really quick. I'm not sure what the camera is all able to capture there, but what we had been doing was we were waiting for Greg Bevino to come out of this federal courthouse where he has just been quite scolded and taken to task by a judge. And as he's coming out, we saw Chicago police were here ready to do crowd control. Security for the building were here doing crowd control. But what comes out is a dozen or more masked agents with that had Border Patrol markings, and they marched down the street here, clearly grabbing everybody's attention, interposed themselves between the police, between the security outside the courthouse, and the people, the media and the protesters who were here to see Bevino as he came out. They interposed themselves there. Then they moved back around to this side of the building, bringing that crowd with them. Had they just not marched this way, it's very likely that at least a part of that crowd would not have followed the way they did. But again, they created the spectacle over here to a side entrance where they created a tunnel of sorts for Bevino to come out. He did. He walked up to a truck that was labeled as Border Patrol, I believe. He climbs up on the running board, pumps his fist, and gave several hand gestures towards the assembled Border Patrol agents and the other vehicles in the convoy in what really clearly seemed to be some sort of performative little demonstration here. Gets in behind the actual wheel of the lead vehicle in the truck, which is such an obvious metaphor there for his leadership here of the Trump administration's immigration agenda here in the Chicagoland area. And then they drive off here down the street as the protesters here continuously called out that they do not want Border Patrol agents in their city, in their region here in northern Illinois. So that's what's just played out. You saw us go taking off running with some of those protesters. You heard from Robert there, who's someone we've spoken to at a number of these different demonstrations. He's been active out here in the protest community, and it was a lot to take in. So the reason Bevino was in court was he had to answer for the use of force in a number He had to answer for the use of force in a number of incidents here in the Chicagoland area, the deployment of tear gas here in some of the neighborhoods in and around Chicago, including one instance where he himself was photographed lobbing a tear gas canister into a crowd in the Little Village neighborhood just a few days ago. And that's what precipitated this court hearing here. The judge who had ordered the Trump administration to only use tear gas and a few other uses of force here in the Chicagoland area under very specific circumstances. It was very clear that these Department of Homeland Security agencies who are operating out here were just completely operating flagrantly disregarding the judge's order in this case. And so we started with the judge just reading out the entire order to Greg Bevino as if he were a child, as if he were not capable of reading the order himself, reading out to him the order that she had given, and then putting some questions to Bevino about some of the different use of force incidents, and then coming out with her ruling. Her ruling again being that federal agents, or Bevino himself specifically, will need to appear in this courthouse every day, at the end of every day, to justify the actions of his agents in and around Chicago. There's also been, the judge has also tried to get Bevino to get his agents to have identifying markers in uniform places on themselves. There was also stipulation about the agents all being outfitted with body cameras and an order from the judge that all evidence that, or all body camera video and other evidence that the Department of Homeland Security has justifying the use of force here in Chicago dating back to September 2nd all the way through this past weekend needs to be turned over to the judge for her review to be sure that the Department of Homeland Security is following her orders that she has issued out here, trying to limit the exposure of people here in the Chicagoland area, kids, the elderly, other vulnerable groups, to tear gas, rubber bullets, pepper balls, which we have seen repeatedly deployed against largely peaceful protesters here in the Chicago area, and I'll note members of the press. I'm not immune to this. I was tear gassed right alongside of Chicago police officers and peaceful protesters in the Brighton Park neighborhood just a few weeks ago. John was there. He was also tear gassed, and he was tear gassed again out at the Broadview ICE detention facility. So some other pieces of news that have come out here in just the last few minutes that are being sent my way. I want to read off some of these to you. CBS News is reporting that some ICE officials are concerned that Border Patrol's aggressive roving arrests in places like Chicago are triggering too much backlash. Quote, "We're arresting criminals while they are going to Home Depots and car washes," one official told CBS News. And this is going along with what we heard just yesterday, reported now by a number of outlets, which is that the Trump administration has gone to at least around a dozen cities, it sounds like, and fired the ICE officers or relieved them of command in those communities, and are now going to replace them with Border Patrol officers, or Border Patrol commanders, excuse me, some of which will be hand-picked by Greg Bevino, who was just here in this courthouse testifying, trying to justify why his agents are tear gassing kids. That's who's going to be picking the command structures for other cities across the country. And it looks like what we're going to see is that the tactics that have played out here in the Chicagoland area are now going to play out in cities across the country. I want to give a shout out to John, my cameraman, because you likely saw me running down the street there, keeping up with the caravan as they pulled away here. But John, of course, is behind the camera, and I was running to try and keep up with John. So he has been a real treasure and an asset to me while we have been out here in the field. He has kept me safe in a lot of really scary situations where we have come very close. Like I said, we've been tear gassed, all of that out here when we have been coming very close to these ICE agents and these other DHS officials out here in the field. He has been doing a fantastic job. So, John, seriously, man, thank you very much. My wife appreciates it, too. If you could also support us. We're on the ground here. I mean, I'll note all the other media is left. I'm still here delivering the news as it's happening. We're a scrappy outlet. You know, we punch way above our weight. We've been on the ground here in Chicago where a lot of other national media has left. They'll parachute in for a day, they'll tell a story, and they'll leave. We have been here. Run alongside with us. Give us $5 a month to keep us chasing after these ICE and Border Patrol vehicles and demanding answers from the Trump administration about their tactics that they are using here in Chicago. Go to StatusCoup.com/join. $5 a month, 16 cents a day is all it goes to support independent journalism. We don't take any corporate money. We're very proud of that fact, that we're only beholden to you, everybody watching. So everybody who has subscribed and continues to support our work, thank you very much. I'll note here that the crowd has largely dissipated. We're down to just a couple of protesters and looks like 5 Chicago police officers on bicycles. So I think we're going to start to draw things to a close. This is me also giving a shout out to Colin and Jordan through the camera. If there's anything you guys need me to read off here before we end the stream, please send it to me now or let me know, because we are out of folks to talk to down here, and feeling quite winded after that sprint down the street and all that craziness. And I guess I should probably take advantage of this moment to acknowledge your presence out here.
I've been acknowledging yours because I'm just so happy that you're out here properly reporting the situation. I've never met any news station that is really actually getting to the truth of what's happening here, unbiased truth.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. And I've seen you at I think a couple of demonstrations now.
I've been at No Kings. I've been at the Broadview facility. I've been in a few other locations. I try to go to family events and protests.
So, what is? Can you explain like kind of the performance art that you're taking on here as part of your protest?
Well, I'm a construct. I was created to protect Chicago. I am Chicago's liberty. I've come here to fight for justice in every way I can.
And as a construct of a personification of Chicago, liberty, and justice, what would justice for Chicago look like in this moment?
It would look like Greg going to jail for at least a life sentence after attacking children, condoning his fellows to attack children, attacking women. I get upset even talking about it, so I'll digress there, but he belongs under the prison, you know what I mean?
So then the ruling here from the judge, I assume you'll see it as a small victory, the inconvenience to Greg Bevino to have to come down here and justify force, and also maybe the larger victory of like having to put pressure, the judge putting pressure on ICE to be able to justify itself. But is that enough? Does it go far enough? Would you like to see the judge do more?
I don't know much about the legal system. I'll admit that as a citizen. I do want there to be more. I want there to be actual justice. I want there to be actual consequences for this. Him having to go talk to a judge on occasion and smooth a judge, I don't think that's justice.
So when you see the Border Patrol agents marching around the side of the building here, creating quite the spectacle, I mean, how much do you take away from that as it being like a show of force by them, or do you see it as like a good-natured, like we're just trying to protect our boss to get him out of here?
I think it's a fascist display of power. They're trying to take the power away from us. That's why we shoot them out when they came out. You know what I mean? Like, I ran up to be the people that were telling them that they're racist, fascist Nazis. They're trying to scare people, and we're not afraid.
You are clearly going out. You're saying it like this is a fascist regime. Like you're not afraid to say it. I mean, to your mind, how does America come back from this? Like, what does justice for the country look like to be able to move on from this administration? Like, how do you feel comfortable and confident in America's system of governance again after this? If you know, as you say, like it allows a fascist regime to take hold in the United States, like what kind of reform do you need to see to again feel confident in your country?
I think we need to acknowledge that this is yet again another attempt on genocide against Native Americans. That's what Mexicans are. They're Native Americans. I don't care what name you try to give people. They were here first, and they're trying to get rid of them again. They're Native Americans. They belong here. They're more patriotic than other people I've ever met. So first, it needs to be acknowledged that this is a genocide. Taking people out of their homes in the night is genocide. Taking people in exile to other countries is attempting to kill them. It is genocide against minorities in this country.
I never caught your name.
I'm Dusty. Underneath the suit, that's my name. I'm Dusty Dunner.
Dusty, it was nice to meet you. Yeah.
Hi, what's up?
All right.
I think he's a little zooted.
Yep. All right. So, Donald Trump has started to intimate that he wants to serve a third term. How realistic of a possibility are you taking that right now? And what are you doing? You know, you're out here, you're demonstrating. Are you doing anything to try and organize to maybe prevent that outcome?
Well, last time we tried to joke our heads off about how he wasn't gonna, but the reality is he got into a term again. And I think it's because we weren't taking him seriously enough. The thing is, you can be as dumb as a rock and somehow still win, apparently. Sorry, I just shouldn't have insulted him. But you've seen his decline. Could you re-ask the question for me real quick?
I was just like, how are you, working? I get the sense that you are against the Trump administration. You just called them fascist. Trump wants to serve a third term. Are you doing anything? Like, you're clearly out at protests. Like, you're doing something. But I mean, is there anything that you are prepared to do to try and anything more that you are prepared to do to try and prevent a third Trump administration? Like, are you organizing anything along those lines?
Well, as an individual, I usually show up to any event I see around. But something as an individual I do is try to keep your friends accountable in all this. Try to make sure they know what's going on. Try to make sure your friends actually go out and vote this year and vote in their own interests. Not some lie about how he's going to lower, because Trump is lying. He's been lying about lowering food prices. He's been lying about lowering property prices. We need some real truth, and we need actual plans from Democrats and all the other parties. And I think one of my plans is to try and get my friends out to vote.
Understood. Do you think you'll have another opportunity to vote yet?
I do believe so. I do believe so.
Optimism. I appreciate it, Dusty. Thank you very much for the time and for letting me talk. I appreciate it.
Thank you for letting me practice.
Yep.
Interviewing again.
Of course.
Trying to make me look good.
All right. So, I'm going to start to draw things to a close, but before I do, I want to I want to say one more time that there are no other news outlets that are physically chasing down Border Patrol here on the streets of Chicago right now. I mean, we went sprinting after them, trying to give you a look at the passion that's on display from some of the members here of the Chicagoland area who are running. We're running to keep up with them, to show you the story as it's happening, as Greg Bevino is driving out of here after his big show of force. All of his big demonstration of everything he wants to do here in Chicago, all of, the tear gas that he feels so confident to lob into crowds of protesters, confident to come up here in front of a judge and claim that everything he's doing is above board. We're going out into the community to show you what's really happening. We are chasing down CBP vehicles to show you what is really happening here on the streets of Chicago, putting our bodies literally on the line here, getting tear gassed, all of it out here to show you the truth. And it's expensive to do that. So if you can, please go to StatusCoup.com/join, $5 a month. I'm eternally grateful. John is eternally grateful. Our whole team is eternally grateful for the support that you are able to offer us and give us in this moment as we are living here on the ground in Chicago, watching an authoritarian playbook play out on these streets in real time, seeing up close, showing you, hearing from the victims, the family members of these folks who are being disappeared right now by this administration. If that's a service that is valuable to you, because the corporate press is not out here doing that right now. There's no other camera running alongside us down the street. We're in so many of these neighborhoods where we are the only outlet there, and it is expensive to do it. So if you value what we're doing, please, StatusCoup.com/join, 16 cents a day, goes to support independent journalism, which is so important in this moment. Okay. Before we go, I want to be sure that I give a shout out to the folks who are supporting us financially, to know that you are so appreciated by our team here. So first, our super chats that we got during today's stream. $5 from Gris. Thank you, Gris. We appreciate that. Sci-Fi by Adam Crowley gave us $10.28. Said, thank you, Status Coup, for being on the ground. Freedom isn't free, and neither is a free press. Thank you again. And that is a great way to sum it up. Freedom isn't free unless you fight for it the way the people of Chicago are fighting for their freedom every day here on the ground. And yeah, it is not free for us to do this work out here. It's very expensive. So thank you. Thank you for that support. Hello Kitty gave us $2 and says a 50-character limit is rough. So thank you, Status Coup News. Thank you, Hello Kitty says. We appreciate it. Fly Chomper Fly gave us $2 and said, more imp than ever. People stay calm, so court sees all. Thank you very much for your support. Thomas L. DKK gave us $20. Said, keep fighting against pedophile Nazi Trump. I mean, that is a sentiment that we saw and heard on the signs down here about pointing to the distraction that a lot of folks feel. A lot of this blatant authoritarian is here. All of these tactics that are being employed are all about causing real